All right, kicking things off on day 2, Radio Row, Las Vegas, with our friend Robbie Gould.
No pun intended.
No pun.
I actually did not do that on purpose.
I know you didn't.
So you guys will have to prevent me from just talking golf with Robbie for 15 minutes here.
I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah. But he's here with DiGiorno and DiGiorno Pizza. We're happy to have you here today. This is your former team here this week.
Yeah.
What are the emotions like for you?
I'm happy for the guys. Obviously, we've been pretty. I say we, like I'm on the team right now. We've been pretty close. We've been in 3, I think, of the last 4 NFC championships. We dropped an interception that would have probably put us in the Super Bowl in L.A. We lost to Kansas City in the last 5 minutes of the game when we were up 10 points. So, these guys have been knocking on the door for a long time. They restructured the roster a little differently. Obviously, Brock Purdy coming in and playing really well in the system. He's cheap, able to get a guy like Hargraves at the defensive line. You're able to retain a couple players. Pay Sam Darnold as a backup quarterback, $5 million. So you're able to solidify that after what happened in Philly last year. I'm happy for the guys. I'm happy for what they've been through because they deserve it. I think it's going to be a great game. One of the things that I think you'll see as this week kind of moves on is the line's moving pretty close to almost even. Yeah. Both teams are kind of built the same way. I think whatever defensive line plays the best on what could be a softer, slower surface, like you saw in Arizona, because the fields will be very similar. And stereotypically in Las Vegas, the field's soft, it's sandy. So how they operate that will be something to look and see how that goes. But I think in general, whatever defensive line plays the best, I think is going to be the difference maker in this game.
Let's create some controversy. You should be kicking in this game, correct? Or you could be. How's that? Like, could you have made it through another season in your mind?
Yeah, I definitely. I could have probably played 3 or 4 more seasons. My wish list of what I would like to have done in my career at certain places and do certain things was pretty specific to a couple places. After we got done at the season and San Francisco said they were going to move on, then, I had to develop what I thought was best for myself and my career. And, we were fielding phone calls for a long time all the way through. It's just an interesting dynamic now that the older kickers didn't get signed till later. And when they were offered, you're offered the same contract of league minimum and or come on our practice squad first, and then we'll elevate you. So to me, I just didn't think that was something at this age, at 41, at that point in my career, that was really worth tipping my legacy for. Listen, we had a lot of conversations to get back in the playoffs to kick at the end of the season, and I just, talking to my wife and my agent and people that I believe can help me make an educated decision. It wasn't like I woke up one morning like, I don't want to play football again. Mm-hmm. It was just a conversation that kind of happens throughout the season. And, San Francisco went young, and so is most of the league. You see that at Green Bay. You see that, in L.A., and listen, the playoffs are unpredictable. That's the big part about it.
So in an odd situation going into next year, you might consider it. Is that fair to say?
No.
Okay.
He's retired now, man.
Hey, but
here's the thing.
Mike retired 7,000 times and came back. I mean, the Jordan kickers could do the same. Let's go.
Yeah, listen, I think if I can tell you this, I'm enjoying retirement. I don't have the personality that's like my toes in the water, but it's not in the water. I'm either all in or all out. I'm committed to, being around my kids more. I'm committed to coaching their sports, looking into broadcasting opportunities that we've done in the off season. Been coaching high school football, which has been a lot of fun. Looking to potentially do that at a head coaching level. I've been very lucky. I've worked with a nonprofit, Cal's Angels in Chicago, where they raise money for pediatric nonprofits. So, for me, it's not necessarily about, where am I going to find the most money in a job. It's now living a purpose-filled life and trying to change somebody's life or journey. And, I spent 18 years in the NFL to be able to do that. And, it's been kind of nice.
Robbie, I know you're enjoying retirement, but going back to your career, you had 6 field goals against the Tennessee Titans in 2017. I think that's the most that you've ever had in a game. What do you remember about that game?
It's interesting. I had about a 3 think, 3-week span that started in Chicago where we went 5 for 5 and beat what was the staff that fired me.
That's still one of my favorite games.
It was my favorite of all time.
I remember seeing you after the game down there by your guys' locker room, and just, you had a smile on your face. We knew that one meant something, a little extra for you.
Yeah, that was the first time I was able to come back to Chicago. But we went, I think, 15. I think we kicked 15 field goals in a 3-week period, which was an NFL record. And Jimmy G was just coming onto the team, so we were kicking more field goals just because he wasn't as familiar with the offense, I would say, as he ended up getting and comfortable. But that game, you could just kind of tell how. Listen, it's no different than the Philadelphia Eagles game in the playoffs. When we were there, I just said to my wife, there's certain games you can feel when people aren't scoring in the red zone. It's going to come down to a kick. And really, the playoffs are the same way. Like if Carlson makes that kick, I feel like against the 49ers probably aren't here. If Dan Campbell kicks both field goals, or at least attempts them, who cares if you make them, frankly. The Detroit Lions are probably here instead of the San Francisco 49ers. So, to me, it's this fine balance between the importance of the position and what people are willing to pay to make sure that they have that opportunity.
Wanted to ask you about what transpired pregame AFC Championship with Justin Tucker. For those that missed it, he's trying to warm up. I believe the kickers are allowed to warm up on both sides, right? And I don't. You'll know the rules better than me. But Patrick Mahomes starts kicking the sticks, and Kelsey tosses them.
It's not hard. I mean, as long as you talk to each other. I think obviously both teams were in a heated moment. I think Kansas City. If you look at kind of how their season went, they're starting to play like the Kansas City Chiefs. They'd spent all season trying to find that identity, what they were doing, so to speak. They battled through some injuries. Here they are on the road for the first time in an AFC Championship game, and let's pick on the kicker. That's the easiest thing to do, right? And I can't speak for what happened there. All I know is that usually what you'll do is I would always start kicking at the 20-yard line. And if the quarterbacks, because I would always start at the opposite end of our tunnel and ask, hey, how many throws do you have? Hey, do you care if I go to the right side or the left side? Just tell me where you're going to be, and I'll work around you, My assumption, there was no conversation, and that's probably what sparked whatever happened. So those situations are pretty easy to avoid. The guys are usually in pregame pretty simple to deal with. It's just a matter of having a conversation to ask them what they're doing, and, hey, I'll work around you.
There's endless conversation going on right now. Should the Bears stick with Justin and or draft Caleb? I know you have a strong opinion on this, or at least have an opinion on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the Bears, for the second year in a row with the number one pick, thanks to the Carolina Panthers, are sitting in a really good situation. And, I think they have the ability now. And what I feel bad for Justin is Justin has never really had stability as an offensive coordinator. They've always changed that or changed the head coach. And I think that's a big part of the growth of a quarterback. If you're always trying to learn a new system, how do you grow as a player? So here we are again. Justin's going into a new offense with a new offensive scheme, which should be, if it's a Seattle type of concept, is run first, which is what you need to do in Chicago. Also, run first helps Justin in the pass game. So I think there's a lot of upside to where they're going with him at the quarterback position. I'm a big believer that Marvin Harrison Jr., he's a game changer. Yeah. How do you let that guy go at number one?
Wow.
I love DJ Moore. I think he's great. But if you compare both of those guys, listen, that takes care of a lot of issues later down the road. I love DJ. I think he's a great player. But if you're forecasting down the road and you need a number one receiver that's still under contract, that's not as expensive later as a $100 million receiver, you don't let that guy go. But I also think that they're in a position where they can trade the pick and build their offensive line, which they need to do. And get some more draft capital that gives them more bodies. And you see, listen, San Francisco's been able to do that. That's a big part of, I think, why they're here. They've had minority hires at the coaching and general manager positions where they get 2 third-round picks. Those are quality picks. They've had, 8 of those, I think, or 10 of those in the last 4 or 5 years. So they're getting quality guys at that position at a cheap rate. to be able to put under your salary cap. So, I think they're in a great position. I don't know what they're going to do, frankly. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, but I'm not opposed to them keeping Justin and building around the team around him. But he's only there for really one more year unless you get him to a long-term contract.
That locker room, though, is literally gone to polls or influence on their exit interviews, at least if you believe DJ Moore, what he insinuated. They love the guy. You bring in a rookie, how do you think that would work?
Well, here's the thing. It's a situation of, where are you trying to go in the future and what are you trying to build for right now? So, if you look at the Green Bay Packers, right, they move on from Aaron Rodgers. They have Jordan Love, who was a first-round pick, which they did the same thing with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, right? And they were able to get a deal done for a short term for, not a ton of money. So you can still evaluate it, but you still have a quarterback that has experience. There's no reason that the Bears can't go and do that with Justin Fields if they think he's the quarterback of the future, to get a couple-year deal done for him to be secure financially, but also give the team the ability to build a roster around him.
That's what I've been saying. Let's go win-win. If you're going to keep him.
Yeah, listen, I think he saw a lot of maturity from him. You saw a lot of growth. Again, it's hard to have growth as a quarterback, any player really, as an athlete, if you're always changing coaches. You're always changing a scheme. So here we are again, hitting the reset button. And I think that's something that, can't be unnoticed. But I think it's something that you have to explain to people of like, hey, does he have the talent and the capabilities of learning a new offense? Can he make the throws? Can he athletically help us in the run game? And I think he checks a lot of those boxes. And then, the question is, as a general manager, do you want to start over again with a rookie quarterback?
All right, I got two. I know you got to get to your next stop. I got two quick ones for you. Real quick, Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Like when was it when you guys knew in that locker room like that you guys had something with him?
Well, you could definitely see what he was doing as a young player. I mean, he came in and led a couple drives in the end of the game with, guys that were not the number one players or number two players on the roster. He showed that he can handle an offense. He showed that he could play with anybody, really, and he showed a lot of great leadership skills. And the tough decision for San Francisco at the times, everyone forgets Trey Lance was a top pick in the draft, and they had to let him go for Mr. Irrelevant. So, this business is about making tough decisions. They're not always likable, so to speak. But if there's a vision and I always say if there's a reason to why, then people can buy into it. And winning takes care of everything. Let's be honest, right?
So,
all right, and then this last one's a hypothetical, but and everybody knows Cairo Santos is doing great, and he's the Bears kicker, but injuries do happen. Would that be like a mid-season situation? Would that be the most likely path to you getting back on a football field?
Here's what I would like to do. I would like to be an ambassador for the Chicago Bears. Okay. I would like to. I haven't met Kevin Warren. Frankly, I haven't talked to the McCaskey family since retirement. There's still a piece of this in transition for me of, in Chicago, you have to pick, do you want to go broadcasting or do you want to go with the family? And I don't mean that in a bad way. You just can't have it both ways. And I think there's a way you can do that. But I think for me, I've always had a sweet spot in my heart for the city of Chicago. I've always had a sweet spot in my heart for the McCaskey family. A lot of my memories as a player for 11 years was there. And I think, if I had my crystal ball, I would love to go back there and be an ambassador for the team.
There you go, Kevin.
Robbie, real quickly, with all the talk about Arlington Heights real quick, how weird would it be if, kickers were kicking indoors as opposed to outdoors at Soldier Field? How weird would that be?
I would be jealous, No, listen, I think it's a great opportunity. The irony of that property is it's still in city limits in the county perspective, so you're still going to get a little bit of drawback from that. I think what I've seen is they're going back to focusing on the city as a stadium, so I think this is going to ping pong back and forth until some of the politics comes to rest. What I will say, though, is if you look at all the teams that are doing really well in the National Football League, they've developed a new stadium. They've developed a place where they can make more revenue. And the reason for that being is they now then can have a bigger cash spend. So I do believe that it's very important for the Bears, not only the fan base, because you now can spend money outside the salary cap to keep really good players as opposed to maybe cutting them. So I think that's a big deal to get done, not only for the community, for the jobs, the amount of revenue that's going to come in tax money, but also just to give them a better experience. I mean, listen, Soldier Field is not hosting a concert in the middle of the winter, right? So they're not making the money on that. There's not a development around there. You can see the properties that are being bought up already in Arlington Heights for whether it's Airbnbs and restaurants or whatever. Like, it's already making an impact, and there's not even a shovel in the ground to build a stadium yet. So I think the Bears have done a really nice job of trying to create this community where it's going to be infectious to the greater good of not only the city of Chicago, but also the fan base and the communities around where that stadium will be.
All right, I love this promotion that DiGiorno's doing.
This isn't the fans in Chicago aren't going to love this.
No, I know. I was going to say even the copy
back
here.
Bad memories.
Yeah, the word doink is on the sheet in front of me, and Bears fans don't want to hear that. But tell us about what's going on with this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So for the second straight year, DiGiorno is giving fans a chance to win free pizza. The caveat to this is that the ball has to either hit the upright or the crossbar, and if it does, fans can go to DiGiornoDoinks.com to register for free pizza. The other thing that's pretty cool about what they're doing for this week is they partnered with DraftKings to do what's called dollars, DiGiorno Doinks for dollars. So they can go and predict some of these situations that are going to happen in the game, and you can win up to maybe a share of the $20K that's going on. So I know doink's a bad word in the Chicagoland area, but we're praying for doinks that go in. So
I was going to say, you could doink it and still make it.
I'm a Pizza Friday guy. That's just what happens in our family. So, we've registered, and I'm a big fan of cheering for the doink that goes in.
Yeah, we'll root for that too.
Yeah.
Robbie, always good talking to you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great to sit with you.
Thanks, Robbie.
We all silly like the mayor.